just doing the same thing. It's fine. We'll just,
Okay.
yeah,
Sorry about
that,
that.
that's okay.
Yeah, I think just gonna wait a little bit to get involved. People sign on. But how are you doing? I've heard it's very hot in DC.
It's so hot here. Oh my gosh. It's so hot and humid. It was like 100 degrees or something yesterday, and it's been in the 90s, upper mid 90s for a while now. Ugh, I don't like it. It's like the climate change, and I don't know what's the state of the world. It's, you know, not great. How are you?
I am doing okay. It's likewise been very hot in New York, and then I also woke up with like a cold this morning, so apologies for sounding a bit congested.
No, you're good. You got the like the smoky, like seductive thing going on, so it's all good.
All right. Well, sure. I think some folks have signed on. Yeah, I'm really thrilled that we're able to reschedule this talk. Originally, this was supposed to happen in May, but I'm very happy that we are here now
Me
chatting. Uh,
too. I'm so glad we could reschedule.
I'm also like very excited to chat with you because I've emailed with you before through
Mhm.
work for events. Um, But hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa. I am one of the non-binarian volunteers, and today I am very happy to be chatting with Christine Bollow, who is one of the co-owners of Loyalty Bookstores and is the program director at the bookstores as well. And yeah, just like getting into that, I'd love to hear how you got your start in bookselling and how your partnership with Hana as well as like slash loyalty came about.
Yeah. So you might have seen this Monday was my 7-year books anniversary. So I started my Bookstagram account in 2017. At the time, I was doing real estate in Portland, Oregon. Before that, I was a professional dancer, actor, taught Pilates in Beverly Hills, which is a whole other live with stories. But I was having a lot of health issues, and I had to like keep cutting things out of my life. Things were getting smaller and smaller, and as I imagine with books, I could have my life expand again. And reading was one of the only things that didn't like cause me additional pain. So I had started that in 2017, and I ended up getting into book selling in about like 2018, I think, which I don't think I would have done that without Bookstagram. So like Bookstagram literally changed my life and my career, and I worked for an independent bookstore in Colorado for a while and got in doing events and marketing. So I've always been on that side of things. And then I resigned in the summer of 2020, and the timing is not a coincidence. At the time, I was the only person of color at the store, white owned store. Um, and, you know, resigned. And then Hana was looking for someone like to do events. I was looking for a new position, and we had known each other through Book Expo, the ABA conferences. And since everything was remote, I was able to do all the events and everything remotely. And then moved across the country to Maryland, DC area for the store and was doing events and marketing, programming, that kind of stuff. And then became a co-owner last year. So in February of 2023. So it's been a little over a year since I've been a co-owner. Um, and it was a very big change going from, a very toxic situation to, a place where that really aligned with my values. Hana's very ethical boss, and it's been really a good transition to go from employee to boss. But yeah, I mean, it's harder and it's more stressful, but I'm proud of what we're doing.
Yeah, loyalty is absolutely one of those stores where if I make it down to DC, I have family in like
Oh,
Bethesda, so it's like if
yeah.
I would love to visit because I love what y'all are doing, and it's been like really joyous to see that online. I would love to see that in person. And then uh, Kay had a conversation, like a lovely conversation with Hannah last month.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, I got to watch part of it. Yeah, that was good. You'll have to let me know when you're in town so that we can like hang out and I can make sure I'm at the store when you come by.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. I guess you touched on this a little bit when you were talking about um, joining Bookstagram in 2017, but what, like, generally, it's like you didn't start reading then, but in your life, what role has reading played?
Um, I I mean, I've always been like a reader, but when you're like college and early 20s, it can be hard to keep up reading for pleasure. Um, but I won in sixth grade, Alyssa, I won the most books read award. It was a very important moment for me in my life. So, I was like always a reader, and I was the kid that like had a fake library, so I would loan out books to the neighborhood kids, and like write little cards of who borrowed what.
I
So,
love that.
yeah. So it's always been something I loved reading. And then yeah, like college, um, early 20s, I just like, it wasn't as big of a part of my life. But I like made a conscious effort to start reading more again. And then especially in 2017, before I started my Bookstagram account, I was volunteering at a Friends of the Library bookstore, so I would volunteer there. And when you're like talking with other book lovers, you naturally are like, I gotta add this to my TBR, and then before you know it, you have like 500 books on your TBR.
Right.
Were you always a big reader?
No, I actually wasn't. So it was like I was doing the school that I was at. It was like we had summer school classes that weren't necessarily like remedial classes,
Mm-mm.
kind of like put your child here, like in between the school years.
Yeah.
And I would also do, like a reading class while I was younger because as a child I was like really into Bill Nye and science.
Yeah.
Watched like a lot of Bill Nye and how the science, and then being a child who was bad at math, like soon discovered, okay, maybe this is not the path for me, and
Hmm.
like wasn't really into reading. And a teacher one summer had suggested that I listen to audiobooks in the car with my mom, and it's like we can share that reading time together. And it's really through audiobooks that became a reader. And
Mm.
that's why like audiobooks also hold such a special place in my heart, and I will die on the hill of audiobooks or reading, which I think is like becoming less of a hot take now.
Yeah. I am a huge audiobook fan, so I completely agree with you. And I think if people say like audiobooks is not reading, it's like super ableist.
Yeah.
And I actually used to do quality control editing for audiobooks. Um, so I, yeah, I love audiobooks. Like, I think it's such a great way to experience the books. Um, I mean, and it's like also, especially for a lot of like BIPOC folks, like, the storytelling and like oral storytelling is like such a big part of our um, makeup, right? So, like, I think, yeah, for all those reasons and more, audiobooks, amazing.
Yeah. I also love Libro, just like all the anyway, I I think it's like they're doing a really terrific job with all their campaigns.
I
But okay, wait,
agree.
yeah. Um, what exactly was quality control for audiobooks?
Yeah, so I'd listen to the book while I read the PDF of the manuscript on my computer. and I had to make notes of anything that was, any mistakes. So if there's a mispronunciation, um, if they, skipped any words or sentences, or if there were like clicks in the background, or you could hear them like shuffling the papers in the background, I'd have to make note of it and like the timestamp of where that mistake was and what the mistake was so that then the producer they would go back and decide what they wanted to fix and what they didn't. So something like, let's say I worked on one of Rachel Maddow's books and she read her book. So when it's the author or a celebrity, they're much more forgiving with like any mistakes, as long as it doesn't change the meaning of the sentence.
Mhm.
But if it was usually like kids' books, it had to be, word perfect. So I would make it like, it'd be much more detailed and like fine tooth comb of all the mistakes. Um, so it's really cool. It's a cool job, and I got to listen to a lot of books that I maybe wouldn't have picked up. But also that was like sometimes bad too, especially if the narrator sucked.
Yeah, I unfortunately am someone where, like, oh, this book is good. I just think I need to do a paper read of it.
Yeah, and like you can't like turn it down once you start. But I had one narrator who I was just like, I can never do a project again with this person. Like I will gouge my ears out. Like
Um,
I won't say
so
who, but it was like, yeah, I just like I couldn't handle it and it was torture. But I finished the project and
you,
yeah. Oh, my
yeah.
brother's here. Yay. Hi, Chris. Yay.
Uh, so it's like earlier I mentioned it's like I love all the programming that I've seen that your store is doing, and one of the new things is the Gaysian book club. Can you tell me more about like why you started that and what are some hopes you have for it?
Yeah. Um, so imagine anytime you see the Gaysians book club, it's like Gaysians, Gaysians is how I say it in my head. Um, I am a Gaysian. So I'm bisexual, definitely identify as like a bisexual disaster, who's very thirsty all the time. Um, but it was something I've been like wanting to do for a while. And finally got it going this year. Because I'm going to tell you a secret, Alyssa. I don't like doing book clubs. Because the second it's a book that like I have to read or I have to read it, mostly like having to read it with other people, like I don't want to read the book, even though I'm so excited for it because it's like, I think
Understand.
that's almost like the required reading, right? Like in school. Um, but this is something that I'm excited for, and I mean, there could be other Asian book clubs out in the world, but I don't know of any. And I think something to have that intersection
Mhm.
highlighted and celebrated is something we're not used to having, right? So it's important to me to like have that offering. And with loyalty specifically, since Hana founded it and was the sole owner for a couple of years, I'm also trying to make sure people know that loyalty is now Asian owned, Filipino owned. So it's been important for me to like make sure we're including that in the programming, which includes book clubs. And it's been nice because I've gotten to meet like some other Gaysians in the community and um, make friends and all of that. So yeah,
That,
Asians.
yes, Gaysians. There's a mahjong club here in New York called Gaysian Tile Party.
Ooh.
And I think just like the funniest thing to me is they call the transition between May and June the Gaysian solstice, which I just that lives in my head rent free now.
I love that. Yeah, I've been calling it like we're at the like peak of our powers between May and June, but I like the Gaysian solstice is like perfect.
Just share like what are some of the books that the book club has read so far?
Well, it's still pretty new, but we started with Alexander Chee, How to Write an Autobiographical Novel. I wanted something that was like modern classic for the Gaysians out there, and that it was. I also because I don't like doing the book clubs because of the required reading thing. I also decided the first few books I've picked are books I've already read.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I know they're good, and I'm rereading them. But in case I couldn't finish it, I knew I'd at least be able to talk about it. And then also I'm judging for Kirkus right now, so I'm reading a lot. But yeah, we started. That was our first book, and then we talked about Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki, which is an incredible speculative fiction novel and one of my favorite books. And then the next book we're doing is The Goth House Experiment by S.J. Sindhu, which is like such a cool short story collection. It's like very messy queer folks, which I love. Like,
Love
I don't
mess.
know. Do you like reading like messy characters? I do.
No, I think messy characters are delightful, and it's like that collection is new to me. Light from Uncommon Stars has been on my TBR
Oh,
a
it's so
long.
good.
Okay, okay. I will prioritize that by
Yeah.
hopefully by like the end of 2024. But yeah, I love messy queers. I love people or like okay, this is the thing. It's also like characters not people, but it's like I love characters behaving poorly, not necessarily
Hmm.
people, but you just have to be interesting. You don't have to be good.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, like that Marie Kondo gif that I love mess.
Yes, love
That's how
that.
I feel
Yeah,
reading.
100%
Like,
that.
yeah. And then, it's important to me because, right, like Asians are not a monolith. Like there's so much, um, there's so many backgrounds encompassed in AAPI or Asian American literature, and then also with like queer identities too. So I've been trying to make a list of and like make sure each month or just for the whole year that we have a variety. It's not all East Asian authors or just all bisexual authors. Like I'm trying to make sure we have South Asian, Southeast Asian, trans, just so we're like getting a good mix. Because otherwise, I think it's boring, and then we'll be missing out on a lot of good stuff if we just focus on one specific background. I think.
And there's definitely always room for more, but it feels nice to be at a point in literature and publishing where we are able to choose from like a variety, and it's not just here's the lone Asian author, here's like the lone.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Like, I can't even. I have a good list, but like I can't keep up with it, which is really refreshing. Even if I just tried to do like the queer Filipino authors, like pretty specific, like I know most of the books that are out this year that are queer Filipinos, but I don't know all of them.
Mhm.
Like I know I've missed a few, so it's hello, welcome. Yeah. Do you have any favorite Asian books or authors or, like recommended for us or for the book club?
The first book that comes to mind is Ace
Oh,
by Andrea.
yeah.
So that one, I feel like for a book club, it's like a bit of a choice, but I really comprehensive and interesting introduction to asexuality in
Yeah.
books. So that. could be interesting.
That's such a good idea. I don't know if I have that on my list, so that's perfect. Yeah.
This
What else were you gonna say?
Oh no, that's probably just like the book that I've recommended the most to
Hmm.
people of like, oh, you should read this. Sometimes it's kind of like a hi, like maybe you'll discover something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one um uh there's one graphic novel that I've been wanting to do, but also it's hard because like some of the smaller presses, there aren't a lot of books available, or it's like print on demand, so you don't know when the book can come in. Like I was gonna do this, like seeing if I can find it. It's called Spellbound, and it's a graphic memoir that I really, with a trans artist, and it's a really small press, but I can't remember the author right now. But I keep like looking back on, on just getting little bookstore nerdy behind the scenes stuff. Like I keep looking on iPage to see if it's available. So hopefully we can do that sometime in the next few months.
Fingers crossed for you on that one.
Yeah. And
You,
oh, and yeah, we're doing like all genres, and maybe we'll do YA, graphic novel, nonfiction, memoir, that kind of stuff. So I'm
that
excited.
is very
Yeah.
fun. I guess on like, Asian books, like what are like some of the first books that you felt seen by, and like it can be one facet of identity or many or an intersection thereof.
Yeah. There's two that come to mind. The first one was The Sympathizer, by Viet Thanh Nguyen, which is one of my favorite books. He's one of my favorite authors. I jokingly, lovingly call him my literary bae, um, because he's just very, very suave and debonair, and talented. But that was the first time I read a book where the narrator was half Asian and half white, which is like my combination. It was Vietnamese and French, which I'm not, but there was enough of like the reflections, and it was like the first time I really felt seen in that way, that like duality, and never quite feeling like you belong in one space or the other, because we're half of both, and like a lot of those like inner feelings I'd had that I've not hadn't up until that point, like hadn't really talked about or really seen other people talk about. So like I didn't know that it was something that other people felt beyond me. So that I felt really seen in that. And then the other book is America is Not the Heart by Elaine Castillo, which was the first time I like really felt seen. Um, Filipino author. Elaine's also bisexual. And the my family is in Southern California, but this was in Northern California. But there's like enough where when I read it, I felt like I was reading a book about my family, um, which I'd never seen that in media of any form. So it was like those two books really changed the trajectory of my reading life. Yeah. How about for you?
Oh no. I realized I'm like, oh, I prepped these questions. I did not prep answers for myself as well.
Putting you on the
Yeah,
spot.
I would say maybe, well, this isn't exactly okay. I'm just gonna say Soft Science by Franny Choi, and
Oh.
not, I think it's like as a poet, they were one of the first people I saw who was like a queer Asian.
Mm-hmm.
Like I grew up in Hawaii, so it's like I had like a predominantly like Asian, like the community around me was predominantly Asian, but
Okay.
in finding like queerness within that, I didn't really see that too much. So I think encountering Franny's work for the first time, I was like, oh my god,
Mm.
someone like someone older than me is uh here. It's like we
Yeah.
exist.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize you grew up in Hawaii. My husband is from Oahu, and we're going back in August actually for the first time since before the pandemic.
Okay, incredible. Yeah, I grew up on Oahu.
Yeah, so did he. He went to Mid-Pac for high school,
Okay.
um, but a lot of his friends went to Punahou.
Yeah, I went to Punahou.
I figured, yeah, that's so funny. It's such a small
It
world.
is. It's always a very funny thing of running into people and they're like, "Oh, did you go to this school?" It's like, "Yes, how did you know that?" It's just like coworker.
Yeah. Do you still have family there?
Yeah, it's like my parents still live there. I still have like uh lots of relatives who still live there.
Yeah, nice.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try. Did you read Every Drop is a Man's Nightmare, the short story collection?
It's so good. It is so good. And
Oh,
like Megan is so sweet. She's also a bookseller at the shop, which
oh,
is a
really?
indie. Yeah.
Oh, I think I did know that. Yeah, I'm gonna try to meet up with Megan when we're there. For anyone who doesn't know, the short story collection Every Drop is a Man's Nightmare by Megan Kamale Kakimoto. Um, she's Japanese and Native Hawaiian, and the story collection is just like so fucking good.
It's
Um,
so good. It's so good.
Yay! Yeah, I'm excited to meet her or see her again. That book is that collection is very special.
That was a I had the chance to go to her launch here where she was in conversation with T Kiramadin.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah. So
in LA?
no,
No,
and
that was in Brooklyn,
yeah, it
right?
was in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, yeah, such a good combo. We hosted her at Loyalty. I think it was after the New York stop.
Mm-hmm.
And Megan was in combo with Shannon Sanders, who also has a great story collection called Company. Um, yeah, it was really good.
That's lovely. I'm so happy and I hope you get to meet up with her in August.
Yeah, I think we will because I'll be there for 2 weeks. But just a matter of timing and whatnot.
Nice. Earlier you had mentioned that you're reading for the Kirkus Prize, which that's a lot of reading. And I'm just wondering, how do you balance professional and personal obligations while also taking care of yourself?
Dude, I don't.
Oh.
It's not. I know. I it's hard, like I a lot. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to like in with publishing. Like I read, well, I read yeah, a little bit less than I did before I got into book selling. Or you don't have as much time to read. But then you have more books you have to read for work, or that you want to read. Um, I I typically like don't start reading until like 10 o'clock at night, because working long hours or hosting events in the evening. And I kind of it's like work and reading is most of what I do, so that's how I get it done. Which is not the healthiest and not what I would recommend to other folks, but like I definitely don't quite have that balance, which is something, I'm just always working on. And pretty much like with Kirkus, it's taken up the majority of my reading. I'll try to read something for fun that's like, maybe a romance book or a graphic novel. That's something a little bit more of like a palate cleanser, to sort of keep things fresh in my brain and my reading life. But yeah, it's hard, man. It's a lot of books. It's like 350 books, and it's split between me and one other person. Um, so yeah, that's a lot,
And when,
but it's good.
yeah, okay, that's exciting. Are you reading some books that were on your TBR or like, okay,
Yeah, it's a lot of books I wanted to read anyway, or a few that I had already read. And there's been some overlap with like books that we um, had events planned for with the store already. So like I would have wanted to read them anyway. And I'm talking about some of the harder stuff with it, but it's it's something that I've been one of my like career goals has been to be a judge or juror for a book award. So it's something I've always wanted to do, but it's it is a lot of work, but it's rewarding.
Well, congratulations. I'm happy that you're able to that goal.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm like next year I'm not gonna do it unless it's the National Book Awards. I'm not gonna do it because it's just I need like a little bit of a break.
Yeah, it's like that's a lot of reading, and I think going back to what you were saying about book club, of it's like for real required reading of like you have to read all the books. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know, how like for you with work, do you do you read all the books you work on or like do you try to read like the first 50 pages? Like how do you balance that out?
it depends. I will say that probably like if you talk to any publishing professional, I feel like their favorite thing to say is like, "Oh, I dipped in." Like I feel like that's like what everyone says,
Yeah,
just because uh, it's kind of impossible to read all of her books.
it is.
A lot of how I prioritize my work reading is genuine enthusiasm for a title. So for the books that we're publishing, I tend to lean more towards our nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like currently, I'm reading a book, Hello Stranger, coming out in January, which is like a little further out. Since I'm on the marketing team, I work a lot on Indie Next campaign. So if I know that I'm going to be taking lead on a campaign, I try to read more of that like
Mm-hmm.
there, so I can pitch it better
Yeah,
essentially.
that makes sense.
Mhm. And just like
Yeah.
personal reading, I tend to read on audio, so it's a nice break of like, okay, like this is workspace, this is like personal space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I listen to the audiobook um whenever I can, like if it's available on Libro FM, especially if it's like the ALC, which is the advanced listening copies, for anyone who doesn't know that. Yeah, that helps like break it up, right?
Yeah, it's a really nice break, and also what I've delighted in is the bike is an ABA member, so we do also get the ALCs.
Nice.
So like
Oh yeah,
I
that's right.
yeah, so I feel like I'm actually like reading more books that are contemporarily like coming out versus more.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Yeah.
that way, it's personal reading, but I also feel like it's good for work
Mm-hmm.
because then I get books better.
Yeah. That makes sense. Are there any books like that you've been working on this year that you really liked that didn't get enough, in your mind, like enough attention or, um, yeah, yeah. Is there anything that comes to mind?
I would say that this one got so Thunder Song by Sasha LaPointe. This one I feel like I got a lot of media attention, but I
Mhm.
want it in hands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
and
I know I was really excited about that book, but I haven't read it yet. It's a really cool cover from what I remember.
mhm,
Like
yeah,
very vibrant, right?
very vibrant. It's like the bright yellow, and then there's like greens and pinks on it. So
Mhm.
what I've learned like being in publishing, I'm just like, oh, that one's a good cover. It's gonna look great. It's just like the spine of it, like bright yellow books, but
Yeah.
is a essay collection, and there's one essay in particular talking about queer indigeneity that I was really moved by.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna bump that up once I'm done with Kirkus. I'll make sure to read that one.
incredible. Uh, let's see. Okay, so when you were talking about the Kirkus reading a bit, you were saying that there's a bit of overlap between what you're reading for Kirkus and what some store programming,
Mhm.
and to hear more about how you decide on events for the store. And like, what does that process look like? Are you in conversation with some of the hosts? Are you usually hosting events? Just broad questions about events.
Yeah. Um, so typically, there's the event grids on Edelweiss, that I'll look through and write proposals for, if it's the right fit. Um, a lot of times it's publicists reaching out to Loyalty, because the author is going to be in town, or they think it's a good fit, or maybe the author specifically requested that they want to do an event with us. And then sometimes it's me reaching out directly, if it's something that we're super excited. Black, Asian, queer owned, disability owned, neurodiverse. Like, then you're the focus of our store. You're not just like a little side shelf. So, I think about that with every programming decision I make. Are we championing and highlighting Black authors, immigrant authors, all of the above. And is it like a dynamic month? Do we have like a mix, a variety? And not that we never host straight cis white authors. We do. We have a few that we love. But then in that case, like we'll try to partner them with someone else who's
Mhm.
a BIPOC author or, queer author, that kind of thing. So that maybe, hopefully, the conversation is a little bit different than it will be for their other stops, perhaps, if they're paired with another cis straight
Mhm.
white author, um, or moderator. So I like think about that with every decision we make. And we have like our big ticket, like high profile events. Like last year, last fall, we did Jasmine Ward's event, Vietnam Wen's event. Like those were super exciting, like books and events that I had been working really hard to get. But then we really want to like also champion the debut authors, or the short story collections, the essay collections, like the things that typically don't get as much marketing dollars, and like I think a lot of people know that we're very intentional with our programming, as well as like how we curate what books we curate in the stores, so they know if we're doing an event, like it's probably going to be a really good book. And a lot of times the authors we have, like they end up getting uh awards, or like they're nominated on a long list. So for like debuts, I'll look at who blurbed it, which I know that's the whole like hot topic, and not everything is not all blurbs are equal, but I have a few authors who I've figured out, like if they blurb the book, then it's definitely like a quote unquote loyalty book, or it's something that I think our community of readers will like. So like Kiese Lehman and Dusha Philia, for example, if they blurb a book, then I'm like, I feel pretty confident that I'll like the book, that our readers will like it. So yeah, that like, little things like that helps me with the programming decisions. Um, yeah.
And I love the intentionality with that because you're not just thinking about like who you're bringing into the store as like this is their event, but also the conversation partners. I think it's like hearing that sometimes it feels like, oh God, we need to like on our end at like on the publisher side, it's like okay, like who can discuss this book with the author,
Mm-hmm.
but the sort of like balancing as well as like oh who would actually be like a really great conversation partner or whose work feels very much attuned to the store sensibilities as well as this author's book.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, let's say. a Korean author, like they don't necessarily need to always be partnered with another Korean author, like on every stop of their tour. So it's like, trying to look at the whole person and the whole picture. Like, maybe they have a great conversation with another short story author or, someone else who's adopted, right? Like it doesn't always have to be the same people, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean. Yeah.
it's a sort of parody there. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Well, I guess um, probably like wrapping up our conversation. I'd love to know what are some recent and forthcoming books that you're excited to read.
Well, I loved the short story collection, The Body Farm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, by Abby Jenny. Is that how you say their
I,
last name?
I think so.
I think so. Or it's Geni is the last name. Did you read that?
I haven't been able to pick that one up yet.
Yeah, that's okay. It's such a good collection. Like, some books like they hit you in different ways, right? And this is one where I feel like it like pierced my interior. Like it like shifted cells around in my body. Like the writing was just so exquisite, and I really really liked that story collection and her writing. And that was the first book I've read by that author. I also really liked what else? Um, what are books? I can't read. I don't know.
What
What am
yeah.
I reading? Oh, I loved that book, The Prospects. Have you read that yet? It's a romance, and the author and the main character are trans, and the main character is like the first openly trans professional baseball player, and it's such a delightful book.
Oh no, okay, I haven't read that. Now that you've described it to me, yes, I can see the cover. Okay, wait, that's really cool. No, I haven't read that
It's
yet.
so good. It's so good. Like it's such a charming, like sweet book, and there's like some good like sexy bits too. But it's like a very hopeful book. And the main character just like really like burrowed into my heart. And like I love, yeah, I highly recommend. Super good.
Ooh, okay, wonderful. I will bump that
Yeah.
one up.
Yeah. How about you? I
Oh no.
know, I'm so sorry. I'm like putting you on the spot.
Also, like, I realize you can't see me, but I like recently just like packed up all my books because I'm moving
Oh
soon.
yeah.
I had a shelf to reference, but I read The Ministry of Time recently.
Mm.
I did that one on audio, and that was the premise of that is very fun. Are you familiar
Yeah, I
or
love
like you've
that book.
yeah, that one was yeah, I enjoyed that.
I have a little like some stickers, and then I have my where is he? My like Graham Gore pin somewhere. Where did he
Incredible.
go? I can't remember, but I call him my Victorian Bay. Um I only have two. It's Viet Thanh Nguyen and Graham Gore. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that book was really good. I'm glad you liked that too.
Yes. That was really fun. My boss actually recommended. She was like, "Have you read this yet?" Because she knows that I'm like kind of into speculative horror.
Yeah,
So,
nice.
the other book that is a recent release is The Woods All Black by Lee Mandello.
Oh yeah. I haven't
Yes.
read that one yet. We did an event for it.
Oh,
I really like his writing.
it, I've read. I realize I have actually read all of his books at this point,
Oh,
which
really?
I don't know about most authors.
Yeah. I liked the last one. What is it? Feed Them Silence?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm having trouble remembering what the new one is about.
So
As
the new, we are following. So it's a novella, and we are following a trans nurse in the I think it's like 1910s, has just come back from the front,
Mm,
um, and is in this small town. It's like small Appalachian town, and is, yeah, it's like working as a nurse, and
mhm,
this extremely uh, has a lot of animosity towards him because it's like, he's supposedly this woman who's dressing in pants, and there's something happening in this town. It's not clear what. There's also another trans guy in town, so the character we're following is trying to stay in town and, you know, convince the people to let him stay longer so he can do a lot
mm,
of things while also trying to like take this trans guy out to a safer place.
mm. Ugh, okay, I need to pick that up. I have it. Yeah, I really like Lee Mandello's writing. He's a really good author. And definitely like one of the authors, like not everyone's the same. I love most authors. But there's some people who just like are extra great. So like, he's one of the folks that I'm like, okay, whenever he has a book out, like if he wants to do an event at Loyalty, like it's just going to be an automatic yes.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people.
Mm-hmm. I'm really looking forward to the anthology that he edited for Erewhon,
Yeah.
Amplitudes. Yeah, that's some queer and trans speculative fiction. So very excited for that one.
Yes, me too. I don't know when it comes out, but I think it'll be really good.
I'm excited, looking forward to that. I'm hoping it's next year so we don't have to wait too long.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right, but I'm also kind of just making that up in my head. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, and also just like, I'm in publishing and bookland. It's like, cool, a deal was announced. It's like, I'll see you again in like 2 years, maybe.
I know. It's so slow. But yeah, it'll come out when it comes out and we can celebrate it when it does.
Hope you get to do a event either with him and or contributors
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, I think that would be one. We still do like one or two virtual events at Loyalty a month. We actually have one tonight for Ocean's Gadori, which is a very awesome uh, like sci-fi space opera, found family, like kind of book with the crew by Elaine Cho,
Mhm.
Korean American author. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I think for like anthologies and collections with multiple authors, it's nice to do virtual because then you can have few of the like contributors
Mhm.
do the event, even if they're all in different spaces.
Yeah, very fun. Well, it was lovely that we finally got a chance to have this conversation.
Yes, I know. Thank you so much for inviting me. Like, this was a blast. I can always talk about books in the book world anytime.
Well, it was wonderful talking with you, Christine. I hope you have a
Yay.
whole evening and you stay cool.
Thank you, you too. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.